Hello everyone, welcome to this Sims 3 Create a World video. So this is the third episode of Plymouth Isle, and in this part we finish up the roads and lots. So, well, I say finish up the lots. I just placed lots where I want them all to be, but I'm probably going to have to replace them because you can't terrain paint over lots. You have to terrain paint first and then put the lots on. I tried it in this video to terrain paint after placing the lots, and I realized it doesn't work. So we'll have to go back next episode and probably switch out some lots. But in this episode, we get all the roads done. We get all the lots, the places where the lots are going to go figured out, and I put in some trees and stuff. So the world's kind of starting to look a lot more like a world. And, all the terraforming for the most part gets done, so that's all good. I also, at the very beginning, which you've probably already seen it, I put in a mountain of sorts on what is currently the left side of the screen. So, yeah. Oh, well, now it's all over the place. But, yes, I put in a mountain because I thought that the island is just way too flat. And there's also kind of like a hill on the other side of the island where there's going to be like a 64 by 64 lot for like a mansion or something. I thought that was kind of nice. It's kind of like in this, high part that overlooks the rest of the world. So anyway, here just placing in some roads. I mean, that's what I'm going to be doing for a lot of this video. So essentially the process I'm doing here is just kind of like putting it down, figuring out where it's going to, kind of wind up. But then I'm going to go back afterwards and kind of figure out the terrain after I place the road, and then like figure out the curves and kind of like refine it a lot, because the roads can look pretty sloppy when you first place them down. You can click and hold when you're making a curve to like choose what kind of curve you want, but I find that it's just not really worth it to bother with that, and I just kind of place the whole road down as like a squiggly mess and then just go in and figure it out afterwards. So yeah, whatever. So here, just adjusting the road down here. As we move away from the kind of town center area, the roads kind of get a lot less grid-like, and they kind of have a bit more curves and go different angles. And you'll see when we get to placing lots, I put far fewer lots. It's not as dense as that area, because that area is very dense, and I kind of want it to be that way. I don't think there's really any worlds that come in the normal game that aren't like custom made that have like really dense areas. Like even Bridgeport, the lots are so large that it doesn't really feel that dense, because they're just like a huge lot with one huge building, as opposed to like a bunch of small lots with a bunch of small buildings all close together, So, I'm going kind of like for like a village center kind of appearance, I guess. But yeah, and you'll see I put more lots in around the center area. So over here, excuse me, over here, on this area that I'm kind of working on is where that 64 by 64 lot is going to go. There's more than one 64 by 64 lot in this world. I think there's like 3 or 4. Actually, probably more than that. Maybe 5. I don't know. At the end of this episode, the lot count is at 101. And there'll probably be maybe more. There's you could fit so many more lots in this world than that. But I kind of wanted to have some open spaces and have some areas that are not as dense, because it's not supposed to be like a super populated place, just kind of like that not city center, like that town center. And then like the rest is just more kind of spread out a little bit. What I imagine, like if you want to rationalize what this world is kind of like, it's either a place people visit like on, vacation, like they'll come, because it's not tropical, it would be probably like a summer place. People would come in the summer here. And then like the only people who'd be here in the winter are like locals who actually live here, like maybe who've retired to this island, and like the other like fancy houses are like vacation homes for like wealthy people and the kind of stuff like that. So that's kind of like what I imagine, so it's a small island, but it has like the connection with the ship. And speaking of that, I looked at what I had in my mind from Key West, like what I remembered from being there, because I've been to Key West, and like with the cruise ship like docking area is like, and I was actually wrong. So I just thought that like it just went right up to like the edge. It doesn't. And I also misjudged about how like where people exit ships. For some reason I had it in my head that people exit from like the deck, like the top deck, but obviously that's dumb. they exit from the bottom deck, or like even lower than that. So like the dock area is pretty much, it's not very high above the water level. So I'm gonna have to rework that area where the ships would come in. So I'm probably gonna do is remove part of that retaining wall there, place a lot there so I can build in some stairs that kind of go down to a lower level, and then down there have like a dock that kind of goes out into the water, because that's the way it is in real life. So yeah, I'm gonna have to rework that area. I'll probably do that, once I get to building in some of the community lots. So, in that stage of the world process. So for right now, I'm not gonna touch it, but I will improve that. And someone left a comment in my last video. I can't remember who. I can't remember their username, but they asked if I was gonna be placing an airport. The only problem I have with that is it wouldn't really be functional. And I mean, like, I know that the game has like kind of like an airport thing for like the space shuttle or whatever, like the space career, astronaut career. But I don't know if that would look quite right, and I don't think there's really room, because like the only place I could think of putting it where it's not like, an eyesore is like on this island, which I'm connecting with the bridge right now, the second island here. But I wanted to use that space for like the science career building and like the criminal hideout and stuff like that. So I don't think I'm going to be putting an airport. There's not really space. It's a pretty small world. So yeah, it's just going to be boats is the only way you're going to be getting to this island. But right here, I'm putting in this bridge. I don't know how bridges work. So as far as I know, this could just be a decorative piece that actually is not functional. Because you can't like drag a road across. The only way to get a road across is if you put like land there and then put retaining walls. Like you can't like get water underneath the road. So I'll have to look, because I know like there's worlds like Moonlight Falls from Supernatural has bridges that go over water. I'm fairly sure. So I'll have to look into how that works, because I don't think what I did is actually a functional bridge. It looks nice, but I don't think it functions. I don't think cars can drive across. So I'll have to look into that. Again, right now I'm just kind of getting things laid out, and then I'll make sure everything works. That's the next step, is making sure everything's functional. But right here, just adjusting this area, adjusting some terrain for this island. I don't put much on it. I think I come back to it later, but I have to put lots on it later. But yeah, the main goal for next episode is going to be refining terrain paint, because I only just did some very basic terrain paint. So next episode, I want to refine the terrain paint and replace any lots that are in the way of terrain painting. And then I'm probably going to adjust some of the roads again, because some of the roads don't line up to lots quite well enough. So there's some areas where like the lot is not really touching the road properly. So I'm going to go back and probably adjust that, and then just put the rest of the plants across the island to make sure that it's full of trees and stuff and flowers and things. And so I mean, there's lots of other details I have to put in. I have to put in like spawners for like collectible items and like fish and all that kind of stuff, bugs and whatever else, birds. And I'm also going to have to put in like small details like guardrails for the roads and like in dangerous areas where you could drive off, or like street lights, traffic lights, street signs. All of that has to be done too. And there's lots of areas I want to put rocks in, because there's some weird kind of cliff areas that would look better with some rocks. So I'm going to go and do all that. So that's probably going to be mostly next episode. If not, I mean, I'll probably be able to finish that in next episode. So yeah. And then once all that's done, I mean, that's really all that's left, is just some adjustments and details, because like the main layout is, I finish it in this video. So yeah, this is coming together so much quicker than I thought. Like making a world, at least of this scale, like not a huge one, making a small world like this one is not really that, difficult. Because I always like imagine Create a World to be an absolute nightmare, and it's not great, but it's also, I mean, it's fine. Like I was able to make this, so, and it's not horrible. It's not amazing, but it's not horrible. So, yeah. And here's some horrible terrain paint. This terrain painting I first do is not so great, but I'm going to try to find some better textures, some better rock textures than the default shale. But I just wanted to get a base coat here, so I, kind of work out what I want. And this is the highest 64 by 64 lot that kind of looks over the ocean there. Well, most of the lots look over the ocean because it is an island. This is the only other dense area besides the town center, and this is kind of where I started in the first episode by the beach, by one of the beaches, by the lighthouse side of the island. And yeah, so there's like a bunch of house lots here, so I'm going to be putting in, there's like a nice little tight community of houses over there, and then there's some of these rows that like end in, like these houses here. You can see it's a pretty small world because like if you see where the grid ends in the water, like the edge of the grid in the water is the edge of the map. Like that is it. So yeah, this island pretty much fills up the entire map. Like it's it's a pretty small map. It's the small size. I didn't want to get too ambitious with this one, so yeah. I was trying to keep it simple, but yeah, there really isn't any more space to expand the island from what it is right now. Here I'm just experimenting with terrain paints. One of them wasn't working for some reason, but yeah, I downloaded some extra ones, and we'll see how well that works out. But also the brush is really weird. Like when when it went too intense with the darker green, I went over again with the lighter green, but it got like really splotchy. Like it had made these weird patterns and stuff, and I don't know, it's just like really glitchy and not great. So I don't know why the terrain painting isn't so nice between those two textures, but I'm just trying to make it look a little bit less garbage, and I'm probably going to come back, like I said, multiple times, come back and refine the terrain paint further, but I need some sort of base coat here that I could just make it look somewhat more correct. So anyway, just putting in some rock on like some steeper parts, and also some just darker grass. And you can see here when you zoom all the way in, you can see like the terrain paint under the lots if you change it. But when I opened the world in like the actual game, it wasn't right. So yeah, I'll have to just replace those lots, but that's fine. It's not a big deal. So anyway, here just putting in some more lots. That's pretty much what the rest of the video is going to be at this point. Just putting in lots and trees and stuff. So yep, this is part of the town square there, so there's some more lots over there. There's also some lots over here that go into the water. Well, there's one that goes into the water and one that's on a hillside. I'm trying to have like a good combination of flat lots and ones that are, more interesting, like they're on hillsides or going into the water. Like beach lots, cliff lots, a good variety, just fun stuff to work with so that it's not all just boring and flat because, in the worlds that come with like expansions and stuff, the ones that just come with the game are almost all the lots are always just flat, which is always pretty sad because it's more fun to build with the funky terrain. So here's like some lots that are on a pretty steep hill there that overlook the water. I think that's pretty cool. There's another one there. Just lots of interesting lots that are on different hills and stuff, and and also there's ones by the beach here. So yeah, just a good variety. Trying to get a good variety of lots just around the place. There's also like a bunch of large ones. A lot of the lots are pretty big. I think that's a 60, or that's like a 50 by 64. Yeah, a lot of the lots are pretty big. I also put in some smaller ones, trying to like make a good balance here. And like the ones in like the town center are like, there's a bunch of smaller lots, like 20 by 30 lots over there. And there's a bunch of 64 by 64 lots, a bunch of 30 by 40s, a bunch of 40 by 40s, a bunch of 30 by 30s. You get the idea. As I'm working out here to like getting farther away from the town center, the lots are getting a bit more sparse, as you can probably tell. I'm trying to not make the whole island completely covered in buildings, so yeah, it's just getting a little bit sparser as I move outward. So yeah, that's pretty much the idea behind this. You can see here, putting in, I think, just a few more, but yeah, there you go. Look at that. That's the layout of the island. Oh, there's more over here to do, but you can see the road layout. The roads are all done at this point, so you can get an idea of what that looks like, and of course there's going to be screenshots as well, so you can get an overview without it all moving around so fast. But yeah, just made great progress in this episode. I'm really surprised at how quickly this is coming together, because I don't know, I thought this would take so much longer to make this world than this, but like by the end of episode 4 or 5, it'll pretty much be done, except for just putting in the buildings, like the rabbit holes and stuff. So, that's pretty impressive. And here, getting in some trees. Again, trying to keep it base game, so I'm just using like the black gum trees and the birch trees and the, aspen trees. And I'm also going to, detail in with rocks and terrain paint and small plants. I didn't do that all in this episode. I only did like this little area, but I intend to do most of the island like that. I just did not get around to it in this video, but you'll see some more trees start to come in at some point, I think a little closer to the end. But yeah, you can see kind of a good overview of the world there. I was just kind of checking it out in as a whole. And over here, this is the second small island. There's two small islands besides the main one. One just has a lighthouse on it. And this one has some lots. There's some residential lots on it. And then there's also some community lots. I intend to have the science center over here. And what is it? The criminal hideout. Oh, one thing I just thought of, I need to find a good place for the school, because I want to use a school and stadium combination, so I don't have to have two. But that requires a pretty big community lot, so I may have to figure out where to put that. Yeah, but anyway, it's not too important. But you know, I'm going to take care of the military and police career, because I'm going to use a city hall that has the military and police career included in that, so it's like a 3-in-1 building. And yeah, I'm going to try to use a bunch of those buildings that have multiple things in one. But then of course I'm going to be building my own lots too, so I'll probably have a laundromat and a gym, a library, museum. Those lots you have to build yourself, so there will be building videos on those when I get around to it, and the parks and stuff. There's all the different community lots that you have to have besides the rabbit hole ones. But anyway, we're pretty much at the end here, so I hope you enjoyed this episode, and the screenshot's coming up after this, and you can check out the first two parts if you haven't for some reason done that yet. They're on my channel, so I encourage you to go check those out. I also make a bunch of building videos in The Sims 3 and some in The Sims 4, so you can check that out too. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next episode, and I hope you have a great day. Bye, everyone.